Gen Bio. This is Dr. Fry. I'm here to show you the slide that corresponds to the Nereis cross section. So if you were in lab this week and you were looking at the Nereis worm and you placed it on your dissecting tray and you cut from the dorsal side of the worm here to the ventral side of the worm, so just straight down through the body, and then looked at the cut surface, this is basically what you would be looking at. Okay, so we're going to start at the most dorsal side, okay? And I'll mention on the very external surface, you've got the cuticle and the epidermis, okay? And that runs the whole length, all the way around the body. Okay? And then just ventral to the dorsal wall, you have the dorsal blood vessel, okay? And this is one of the major blood vessels of the Nereis worm. Okay, and on either side of that, you've got the dorsal longitudinal muscles here, and also on the other side here. Okay, so these are the dorsal longitudinal muscles. All right, and then around that, you've also got some circular muscles right here. Okay, so along, sort of around the outside of the worm's body, right in here. Okay. These run in different directions. So this is more of a circular muscle that surrounds the worm, and this runs longitudinally. Okay, the dorsal longitudinal muscles will run, like say, from the head to the tail of the worm. Okay, and there's a corresponding ventral longitudinal muscle here. There's a pair of ventral longitudinal muscles. Again, both run the length of the body from head to tail. Okay. And then there's one more set of muscles, that's the oblique muscles. And they are shown here. I'm running the pointer along one of the oblique muscles here. It sort of starts in the midline on the ventral side of the worm and extends to the sides of the worm from that midline. Okay, so I'm sort of extending it. It branches, sort of like starts in the midline and then goes in both directions. Okay. Starts right about here and goes to the sides. All right, and then just dorsal to the ventral midline, okay, you've got your ventral nerve cord. And this is the primary nervous fiber of our worm, okay? And then just above that, just dorsal to that, is your ventral blood vessel, okay? So you probably read in the lab manual that there are two major blood vessels. There's no real heart in the Nereis, so the contractions of our muscles allow for the movement of blood throughout the worm's body. Okay, so in these two blood vessels. And we have a closed circulatory system in the worm, so that means that all of the fluid, all of the blood, is contained within blood vessels. The ventral and the dorsal blood vessel, okay? So one on each side. All right. And then I'm going to move to the center of the worm where you can see the intestine. This is the intestine. This is, of course, part of the digestive system. The lumen of the intestine is this space right here in the middle of our intestine. And then the space just outside of the intestine is the coelom. Okay. So it's a space that sort of is in between the intestine and the rest of the body. So this is our muscles and other structures, okay? So this is the coelom. All right, and then we should also focus on the parapodium. This is one of the parapodia, and there's one on the other side as well, okay? So these are the legs, the appendages coming off of each segment of our worm, okay? And they allow for movement of the worm. They are basically branched, two parts, the neuropodium and the nodopodium. Okay, so like the top, the more dorsal portion is the nodopodium, and the more ventral portion is the neuropodium. Okay, the whole thing is called the parapodium. All right, so I think that those are all of our structures for this slide. I'm going to take you next through the parapodium slide, and that will give you some more details on that.